Hello.
Aditya, please wait. We'll give you the cue when you start.
Okay, okay. So, good morning, everyone. Today, the first session of today, and also my topic that is Introduction to Incident Handling. So, as it's very less time left for this session, so I'll start. Um so, before going into the deep, I would just discuss some introductory points on this. So first, I need to know from you that what do you understand from an incident? Okay, you may write in the chat box or in the question chat box only. Okay, so I'm actually seeing the chat box, and as well I'm also speaking. So incident in cybersecurity basically is a special event which has some harmful impact on the total scenario. Okay, so events are like you are browsing through is something through the internet, you are passing some traffic through the firewall, you are routing some traffic to a router, or you are saving some file, you are downloading some file. So these are all small events which are happening in its system. Okay, now an event becomes an incident only when that event has an harmful effect or a long impacts not only that system and the total whole network. And if system connected to the network, then that event correspondingly called as an incident. Okay, so as in to respond to an incident immediately and also for long term and to the forensic part. Okay, so first of all, you need an action plan. Okay, so that is basically when an incident will happen, what will be the guidelines to be followed, what will be the standards to be followed, how you will proceed to the incident, how you will plan everything, and how will after this thing is over, how you will contaminate and finally remove this particular malware or particular loss and recover everything. Okay. Then obviously procedures to be followed and policies, as I've said, the guidelines. So policies includes everything, including your firewall rules, your how you are gonna proceed, how you are gonna seize things, whom you're gonna inform on happening of an incident, how you are gonna handle the devices, do you gonna switch off every system, or how do you gonna recover it through a backup system. So everything is under this policy. Now, this DRP and BCP is disaster recovery plan and business continuity plan. Disaster recovery plan is something like that after this whole incident happened and you responded to it, and now this time to recover from the this whole part and to get back to this original or earlier state. Okay, so that is basically disaster recovery plan. So in disaster recovery plan is mainly is consist of backup things like what you have already done. You have eliminated malware. Now it's time to get back to the earlier stage. Okay, so when you are trying to get back to the earlier stage or the first prime or the stage which was before the incident, you must have some backup or some policies by which you can always get a kind of, you can say in simple language, a snapshot, not snapshot, I would say like a a backup, a complete backup of something which you can like revert back to it before the incident happened. Okay? And BCP business continuity plan after reverting back so that you can continue your business or like in your continue your process flow like as before. Okay. Finally is scope that how much you are doing this process, so how much it will impact on the whole process, whole system, regulatory working, its efficiency, its process. Okay. We'll also discuss on intrusions, cyber theft. Cyber theft is basically like thieving information is confidential information by using any malware like phishing, vishing, or by mailing, or by something that kind of thing. That is cyber theft. By denial of service, I guess denial of service attack. So that is basically sending a lot of requests to a particular server. Means suppose a server is scheduled to handle 10,000 requests per second. Okay, now by any mechanism I send 1 crore or 1 million requests to that particular server per second. So obviously that server will cannot handle that thing and will deny of uh, to serve the request. So it will stop serving its service. So that is the denial of service, and the whole process will stop. And obviously, other issues I will discuss this thing later in detail. You know what to do when an incident occurs. So that is basically the plan. When incident occurs, what should be your first step, or what should be your immediate action. So going to the next slide. So yeah. So definitions and differences. So first, I would say from the right side, what is an event? As I've said earlier, an event is an occurrence of everything you do in the system. I would say every single thing, the outcome of any issue or result of anything, like saving a file, creating a audio. I mean, like starting a audio file, watching a video, closing a browser, opening a browser, browsing something. Everything you do in a system are like event. Okay, I can say questions are incidents and defects, bugs are same. Okay, okay, okay. No, see, incident is an incident. Bugs, you can say bugs is a loophole. Okay, bugs is a loophole. Okay, suppose you have a whole building and suppose you have not covered a particular area of that building with bricks or something like that. So that has a loophole. That has bugs. Okay, so that bug is also called vulnerability. Now someone enters a thief enters to that particular hole into your home and you don't know it. So that is exploiting the bugs or exploiting the vulnerability. Okay, now, after getting into your building or getting into your home, he will get all the things or like your jewelry or your important cash and get also out of this through of your house through that hole only. So that impact is called incident. Okay. So now I guess this is clear that bugs, sir, you can say that hole by exploiting the bugs or by getting into the by getting through the hole into your house, you can like exploiting the vulnerability, and after the vulnerability exploited, the impact happened. That is called an incident. So I guess, Mr. Sandesh, is it clear? So I'm going to the next part. I guess you can write in the chat box if it's clear or not. So okay. So event, as I've said, that event is an occurrence of everything, outcome of everything, or result of everything. Everything you do, that is an event. Okay. Now, what is called incident? And I said that incident are filtered out from events. So it is an adverse event, an individual occurrence or event of occurrence, the attempt to harm. So the 3 points are basically mentioned here. The last point, what I've said already earlier, the attempt to harm. Any event which harms your system is basically first an incident. Okay, but suppose that particular incident event does not successfully harm the system. Suppose a hacker tried to hack your system but by anyhow by firewall or intrusion detection system that his attack is detected and blocked. Okay, then it will consider it as an event but not an incident because ultimately the harm not happens. The attempt to harm and if the harm successfully harm, then that becomes an incident and the whole system is damaged. Okay. So events which are filtered out as adverse event and particular occurrence of any particular event and also it has a harmful impact, that is an incident. Okay, for an event you can say like the system crash or network bottleneck. So this kind of thing basically that the event can be sometimes like that you just main server got shut down, not by any hacking or like it, but it can be a mechanical fault or it can be some other fault. Your server just got shut down, the whole system crashed, your main server crashed. Okay, so you just make your server all right or reboot or whatever, and the system again starts. Okay, so the event can be caused not only by hacking things or like by that, but also from like your manual mechanical faults. Okay, mechanical or systematical fault. But incident is unauthorized access to a server or network virus attack. So incident is basically totally related to hacking. So when it is not a manual physical fault, someone externally connecting, trying to connect, which totally unauthenticated, unauthorized to that particular handle that server or network is trying to connect to it and trying to access it and to modify it. Okay, and also by virus or malware thing. So that becomes an incident. So we will just give it a single line definition of each of them. So what is an activity? Activity is the steps followed to impact an incident. So our intuition first suppose I am just trying to using the same definition. A person trying to you're building a hole which is not covered by any brick or something. So a person first checked your whole building and scanned or whatever and find out there is a hole. So this is one activity. So next activity will be a person knows when you will all will be sleeping in the home, so nobody will be like aware of that you will be entering the zone. That is the second activity. So third activity is the finally the thief finally gets in through the hole and enters into your house. That is the third activity. So activity is the steps which are followed to finally impact an incident. Each and every step is called as an activity. Okay. Now the second thing is artifact. Okay, artifact. Sorry, artifact is what? Artifact is something that the things which is using to do. Like to scan or to find out which particular in your building has a hole, he has some binocular or some X-ray scanner or something like device to particular find or that this particular build part has a hole. Okay, so the things which he are using or the like the components which he are using to particular get into that particular building or whatever, so that is called the artifact. The artifact basically are parameters or parameters which are connected with that this whole particular incident. Okay, attack clear that he finally gets into the hole and trying to cheat, trying to steal something. So that is obviously the attack. Intuition is also, I guess, very much clear. It's not getting by way of authenticated means he is exploiting a loophole in your building or in your system and finally getting it through by not knowing you or you are unaware of the thing. So that is intuition. So proof is after this whole incident has particularly happened. So when you wake up in the morning and you see that has happened, so you start your probe, you start your investigation. That okay, you check. Oh, there is a hole I did not discover it earlier. Okay, so you so first I need to cover this hole, and you will check how that particular hole has been exploited to get into your building or get into your system for a computer type things. Okay, scanning is you can say that the finally when the whole incident you are doing investigating, you have to scan each and everything how the which devices the thief has used to steal information or get the information, how he entered the building, how you will how he get the information, how did he know where the jewelry and cash were. Okay, how he like unlock the your almirah or like locker. Okay, so everything is have to scan it and get to know how and finally got to the each and every information. And finally, vulnerability. And vulnerability is basically loophole, as I have said. So you have to find out not only the loophole in the building, but also loophole in the locker or in your almirah, where he finally he just made it to unlock it by his keys or any means and steal everything. Okay, stole everything. So incident handling is an action taken to protect and restore the normal operating condition of computers when an advancement occurs. So that's basically what? That's if something bad happens, something harmful happens in your system. So incident handling is an action to finally protect that. Okay, so we have totally messed up in a situation. Our database, our server has got that our server stopped working or our network has stopped working. So it's time to recover everything, so protect each and everything from the malware which is already in our system and to restore to the normal operating system. When an advanced event occurs, or basically in simple language, when an incident occurs. So why it is important? The number of security related incidents is escalating. Obviously, there are number of incidents which used to hack the servers of very much like big power plants or big security operation center system or data center system. So obviously incident handling is important. You should know that when I know everything is secure, but if something happens, how to recover it. Okay. Business continuity plan, I have mentioned that is BCP, how to again continue the business as earlier. In legal or regulatory compliance, that you have to follow some standard to but to flow this process. That is, you can say guidelines or compliance. You can compliance. You can say. Then safety and finally public relations. Okay. So what is incident management? So incident management is finally detecting and reporting. First part is, so finally after an incident occurred, everything is, I would say, totally messed up. So you go get into the scenario, get into the situation, and you finally detect okay, this particular problem has happened. Okay, so just a brief overview of what actually happened. So the person, at suppose a person attacked into our network through my system. So you just okay, see this particular system was harmed, and through my system. So my name is Aditya Banerjee. So Aditya Banerjee system, the malware got into the whole network and done it. So we made a report of this. Now it's time to incident response. So after you finally understood that what actually happened, it's time to incident response. So finally responding it is or not only format or like totally clean my system, the incident responder, as well as scan the whole network. Okay, and like by as many as possible good scanning engine. Okay, if it is network, then network malware, then it's network scanning engine. If it's a server, then we can say a good antivirus scanning engine. Okay, and find out so that if any that particular response is still that particular malware is still there, so we should stop it. Okay, incident handling is after responding to the particular thing. So now whole particulars like my system has been formatted, servers have been scanned, and maybe the virus as much as detected and eradicated or removed. Okay, so incident handling is after all these things. Finally, you have to slowly restore it to the previous part. Okay, so that everything gets into the track. Okay, so handling is you can say the restoration of the whole process. The incident analysis after the whole process happens, whole process gets into the restoration or earlier phase. You will start analyzing the incident, that how where was the particular loophole. It is already seen that I have downloaded the malware and it was from my system get into the whole network, but how I did not detect the malware. Okay, why my network has not detected the malware, what else the IDS and IPS in my system are doing when it was spreading through the whole network. Okay, so that is incident analysis, and triage is totally forensics. Okay, so forensics, you can say like you collect each and every article, the IP from where the malware connected, the file format, what is the file size, the hash value, which particular algorithm they use to spread to the how it bypass the IDS, IPS or firewalls. You have to get everything, and so that is the basically triage or cyber forensics of that particular incident. So this is basically incident management model. So the first part is preparation. First, you should prepare everything that if any kind of incident happens, how you are gonna proceed to it. Okay, so this diagram is basically what I have said in the earlier. Okay, so while you are doing the preparation, you are also protection. So preparation and protection are just the two sides of one single line. You are as well in one side you are protecting by IDS, IPS, SIEM, that is security information and event management, and firewall to protect your system so that no incident happens. And also from the other side, you are preparing the if the incident happens, still of everything, how you are gonna proceed. Okay. So now under this, if that incident particular happens, suppose the incident actually happened and it has some harmful impact, you detect, as I have said, detect and report. Okay. After detection and report, on the right side, you would say that you will respond, that how you are gonna handle this situation, or how you are gonna eliminate each and everything malware from your whole system. And finally, the main part is the triage, or that is the cyber forensics part. Okay, so what to do if incident occurs? Okay, so if incident occurs, like you have some previous experiences, you can share that in the particular thing, you have some scenario and you can do the same thing here also. So in the emergency, obviously remain calm. So suppose your whole system, whole office system got shut down, don't be something like that, like rebooting everything and formatting every data. So return loss. So remain calm and cool, maintain excellent notes, inform upper management, that is the system administrator or network manager, contain the problem, control the information, what actually happened, how the what data has been impacted, how to recover the data, control the communication between devices or the channel, take backups or already have backup, try to restore it after whole process. eradication of the virus, or eliminating the malware from each and every particular device, network, system, or like whole of the network or system, recover everything and note down the lessons learned to get the experience of it. So this is basically a flowchart that if user determines a security incident, first user reports to system admin, or if system admin is not there, unavailable at that particular moment, report to the ISO, or information security officer or system manager. Okay. So after that process, suppose that is an emergency. If that an emergency, that is contact PTSD stuff. So that is basically an emergency number. You could say that this is not the like for every stoppage. So there must be an emergency number for your network or system administrator. So just contact your emergency office. And now, if that is not an emergency, then just inform your in the meanwhile system admin and manager, and also told them to not modify the whole situation and to preserve and protect the evidence. If system admin or manager mitigate damages and correct vulnerability. Okay. So that basically to understand what are the damages, to recover the damages, or to patch the damages, okay, or to heal the damages, I would say, and to correct the vulnerability by which the thief are finally exploited. Then report to the system manager or if not the security officer, if not already notified. And lastly, system manager calculates the total financial impact. Obviously, the whole thing which calculated by data and money. So the total data can lost and total the money lost and how much the money needed to recover. Okay. And after it, this was emergency. After informing the emergency number, you will report to the EPSR coordinator. Okay, so that is you just contact to a computer emergency response team coordinator and told them that like this is an emergency and we cannot handle this, so like to come over and take the situation. So this is in like image in the or block in the right part, that is the prevent, respond, manage. So this is the three particular component of incident response. Obviously, you should prevent and protect, but if something happens, then respond, and after responding, manage everything. Okay. So this particular whole thing, you can say that after under prevent section, you can ensure their good password service. Under responding section, you would say remote management gateway. And under the manage section, you should get a help desk by that, so that if any particular employee, particular system is damaged, the particular employee should directly call to the help desk and say that I'm totally like my system has been attacked and if you don't know what to do, come and like just take over the situation. So what is the goal of incident handling? Determine how they broke in, so that is finding the loophole or finding the vulnerability, determine what damage was done. So what actually they steal or what data actually lost, or what maybe they have modified the network, so what damage was exactly done there. Determine who did it, that is attribution or parameter. Attribution means basically who did it, mean like suppose you find out there's a particular malware who was sending this whole, doing this whole thing. So now you need to find out from where this malware was downloaded. So when you find out from where this malware was downloaded, you need to find out that person has got the malware from where. That person has downloaded the malware from some other person. So then other person maybe through a mail. So you have to get the sender's mail of the particular mail ID who has sent the malware. After getting the sender's mail, by getting the domain name of the particular mail domain, you will get the IP or region of that particular mail server. By getting the particular mail server, you can just ask them or communicate with them and ask that particular, I want to know that who uses this mail ID. Okay. So that was like attribution or backtracking the things, particularly who have done it. Now, where else did they go? So that is basically that after attacking this particular your system or like what, you have to get that, but they have attacked some others by same malware to some other systems. Okay, earlier they have attacked some other systems by this malware only. So you can just correlate things with other incident happened earlier, and you can find out. So how if they just like if in a police if something case happened, so they all get they all the who is accused, they correlate the face of accused with all the criminal record of that database already who has already registered in the police database. So this here it is also same. So we have to correlate the data, meet legal requirements and reduce liability. So how you're gonna proceed and obviously reduce liability. So that because so to recover each and everything which you have already lost, so that much data or much financial cost is not lost. support prosecution, and finally find the truth at what exactly was happened from like starting to ending. So motivating factors for creating incident response capability, number of computer security incidents. So on particular, how many number of systems the incident has happened, organizational business affected, what businesses are affected. Okay, need of information security awareness. Okay, so the policies as I have said, how we are gonna proceed, policies including firewall rules to physical control, who can enter that room, when to leave that room, the RFID card, like policy including each and every single thing, like you can say the hardware control, the software control, every policy on which the upon the policies, the guidelines are established, the best practices. And the systems and network admin cannot protect us. You must understand who is a system administrator is cannot protect the whole network as a security. So you need a separate security team to protect everything. You need to get the new regulation of laws, how you if something has happened, how you're gonna proceed to it legally, and reporting number of vulnerabilities. So attack tenders is basically atomized attack, as you can say attack. So getting the small, very small point of very small, like small volume of attacks, small volume of malware which you cannot detect easily, but gets a large harmful attack, like a small ransomware. You cannot even know from where the ransomware has downloaded. So that is an atomized attack, and the whole ransomware has encrypted everything in the network. So that is an atomized attack. Faster vulnerabilities. So the faster vulnerabilities is suppose you patch the vulnerabilities till today, but there are something called zero-day vulnerabilities. So suppose the vulnerabilities in a system, but that is not an invented or told to you, or you don't know that vulnerability is still there, or you have not patched it. Obviously, that is faster vulnerability. A hacker can exploit that vulnerability, sharing exploits. Okay. So and then bypassing perimeter dependencies, you can say that bypassing sharing exploits is basically suppose a person has created an exploit, or we have a something called exploit writing, or that is based on a vulnerability. We create a code in Python or some other coding language that will not only just attack the system, particularly exploit that vulnerability. Okay, so if that same vulnerability appears to be in some other system, the hackers can in a community change their share their exploits, and by using that exploits they will attack your system also. Bypassing perimeter difference, that is firewall IDs, that is basically not good rules are defined, so that then only the perimeter defenses are bypassed, can be bypassed. Infrastructure targets and obviously attack sophistication. So how you sophisticated, how you could frame, not you, how the hackers very conveniently frame their attacks, so that by a small part of things, small like malware or something like that, virus or worm, the whole system got damaged, and finally after all these things, maybe the hacker may not be tracked. Okay, so benefits of having an incident response capability, that is appropriate solution. Okay, so what exactly as per the situation happened, we have to get the particular solution. Not always the solution becomes same for everything. Minimize the loss and threat. Preparedness to protect legal or corporate rights. So when you are analyzing analyzing the incident or responding to incident, you must follow through the legal compliance, because you do something just by technically and that does not follow the legal compliance as an incident respondent, you may be in trouble. Stronger protection of data. That is like that is the what I am doing. That is the protection but the preservation part. I know that something incident happens, we should respond, but even we should be totally prepared or protective of every data we cover in our system. So this is the instance response in security life cycle. So first, I will start with this design an incident response plan, or you can say incident response team. Like deploy your incident response stuff as well as system. Then suppose if something incident happened, then by deploying that thing, you would first manage that what exactly happened out there. After managing, you would say you will monitor the whole situation. Okay, then last is then incident response. After monitoring the whole situation, you will respond as per the incident happened, and after getting the response, you will then assess the whole situation or the loss which is already impacted in the system. And after the whole assess, then you will redesign your incident response team, so that if in future that kind of attack again happens, you should not be worried, or you should be prepared for that. So this is the loophole, that first design then deploy. Then when you are deployed, then you should manage things, that how this whole particular process and stuff, your systems are happening out there. monitor the whole particular thing, and then if an incident happens, respond to an incident, assess the whole incident, and if that is over, then just learn from it and redesign your incident response team and then redeploy. It is a loophole. It's not loop, sorry, loophole, not it's a loop. It's a loop of incident response, not a loophole. Sorry. This is 6 phases. Yeah. So 6 phases of first is preparation. In the preparation phase, you will obviously, as I have said, that before getting into the incident, you should get the data or the preliminary information of the summary. Okay, I have got a question out there that incidents or events are not known to organization at all, but after a long time, when system is damaged, partially or completely, in such cases, what could be done? Okay. So in this particular, this is the real problem out there that in some cases, incidents or events are recognized much later. Okay. So that for that particular thing, I am discussing right now the preparation part. The preparation part is only for these things so that whenever an incident occurs, you should at least trigger. Maybe you cannot stop that before happening, but you should at least trigger that at least some incident has happened, some modify change at that. But still, I would see your preparation. Maybe your preparation is not good at that particular to some extent. Okay, so you may not know, you get to know it much later. So the first thing you should suppose so at that particular point you should not just first starting from your like from which time the incident has happened or from which date the event has happened. You should not focus on that at first. Okay, the first thing you should happen that what systems are already damaged. Okay, in that particular point you don't need to focus that at the preliminary point. At that particular point, for systems are damaged. After these whole systems are damaged, you should find out that how the systems are damaged, this malware. Okay. And when this is the detection analysis, after this detection analysis, when you will find out that getting the logs of your servers or your there, then you will find okay, this system has damaged. Not only this malware has started working since 2 months or since maybe 2 weeks. Okay, so now today we see. Okay, so that is the stage when you will find out that it was already invented by 2 weeks ago, and then you should find that why we did not know notice it by 2 weeks ago. So you may find that the malware has removed all the logs out there 2 weeks ago, so that's why you are not notified. Okay, so there is a loophole. You can say that the external program removes your all logs or your notification program or alerting program, and so you are not notified. So you obviously note down that program. Then you start the eradication process of this. First, then you start the containment process of this incident response. So you just stop that. You try to stop the spread of that malware to each and every system. So suppose that malware is spread to a particular part of your whole network, that is 10.2.9.0. Okay, but there are some other segments of your network like 8.0, 7.0. So at that moment, your first thing should be that that malware should not also attack that network. So that is the containment phase. Okay, that is to control the spread of the this particular virus or malware. Then it comes the eradication to eliminate the malware from each and every system, servers, routers, networks it's affected, to recover the data which is has harmed. Then it comes the post-analysis part, which you have actually mentioned, that we need to get the logs, the firewall logs, IDL logs, or IPS logs, or SIEM logs, whatever, and finally find out that from which the malware, from which state the malware is attacked, from which source it has attacked, why we are not notified, how it has uh, modified the notification or alerting system, why it is this, why we have a loophole, how to overcome this loophole, and you have data for finally report of everything. Okay. So is this question clear, Mr. Sandesh Rajat? So I'm moving for okay. So I'm moving forward to the my slides. So I have said preparation phase, detection analysis, then containment. I have said containment to cover to stop the spread of this virus, eradication to removing the virus from each and every system, recover the whole data is recovery, and post analysis as I've already said. So to I will just discuss these points very much easily because we have very less time left. Sorry. So first phase of preparation is to establish policies. Establish policies, I have said, or to establish standards or guidelines based on the compliance or legal compliance. Then is develop management support. Select incident handlers, team and organizing that's actually selecting the staff and train them and how the incident handlers should respond to the incident if any particular thing occurs or even adverse event occurs. Develop an emergency communication plan that's perhaps shown in the flowchart. Okay, for an emergency number, provide easy reporting facilities, conduct training for team members. That also I have mentioned that you should give proper training or by like demonstration training by giving a demonstration or by in a false scenario that if the incident happen, how your team is going to conduct it or handle it. Establish guidelines, relationship with system and network management teams. So you should have a because that is not a part of network management or system administration team, that is not even a part of that is a part of security team you would say, but not an integral part. That is a totally kind of different thing, that is incident response. So you should have total communication coordination system and network management team, develop relationship with law enforcement and CSIRTs. So when established policies, you should to post warning banners. The banners is basically that don't download files which are attachments which are not necessary or which looks doubtful. Don't go to websites which does not which whose URL is does not look which URL looks suspicious, which URL does not look authenticated. Proactive techniques for preventing incidents, that is totally protection parts. Okay, like antivirus, putting antivirus or putting network security or intrusion detection, intrusion prevention system in your through the whole infrastructure. Establish a policy on presumption of privacy, that is the policy part where organizational approach to incident handling. So that your whole organization should give attention not any particular team that on particular dependent department puts it. So the whole organization from your whole like director or your whole CEO level to ground level should give a total approach that if any incident happens throughout the whole infrastructure in that particular thing, how that organization gonna handle that thing. Establish peer for outside notification. So that is basically coordinator to who or a help desk coordinator, you would say, that to whom the if an incident happens, I as an employee first go to that help desk and that help desk notifier will notify the incident handling team. Policy for your remote computers, and finally policy for your extranets. So preparation review is develop management support, as I've said, building team. Building team is for on-site. If an incident remotely, if an incident have, suppose the incident handling team is in Noida and incident happened in your Bangalore office, so you should know how to remotely respond to that incident just by sitting at Noida. You should create a war room. War room is basically just for a like emergency room or like a control room, you would say, for to control everything from there, software and hardware. Prepare checklist that what device and how what kind of stuff you require, so that before happening an incident uh, you should confirm that you have everything you need. Emergency communication plan, that is the same emergency number, access to systems and data. So you should have access to the all the systems and data. Maybe you're not modifying it or controlling it, but you should have access to the whole systems and data. And then contact and resources and reporting facilities. Okay, so I got another question that if attacks from some individual person sitting in other country, any rule or punishment from attacks country to that person who is not in our government control. See, this is basically what I have said, the legal or regulatory compliance I have said in the earlier slide. So I have said in the much earlier slide that you must follow the legal and regulatory compliance. Okay, maybe I just got it, to find it out. 1 minute. Yeah, this one. Yeah. Why it is important? So you can see the why it is important. The third point is legal and regulatory compliance. So in this part only your question answers. Okay. So when an incident happens, sometimes it matters that if the you have tracked it, but you cannot get to, you cannot access to it because that is beyond your control. Okay. So in that particular case, you just follow as per your like you would see in the news that finally the Nirav Modi case, British government has told to like to hand over Nirav Modi to Indian government. Okay, so that is happened after a lot of time. So this in this particular cases, you have to just follow by the regulatory compliance. How you are going to proceed by by maintaining the relations between two countries, by maintaining proper authorized channels between two governments or two departments. Okay, and you have to proceed through that, because you can do most you can do to analyze and finally track that person. Yeah, I know that that person lives in Chicago, in particular this colony in this state and country, but you cannot get to it without following the regulatory compliance. So is it clear, Mr. Nagesh Baswan, sir? Okay. So the detection part is the detection part is the goals, The goals is basically the what was its aim of the hacker, or what was its aim of the person who is trying to steal, what particular thing he has achieved, what data has he actually targeted to steal, or what was his goal. Maybe his target was not to steal any data, just to stop the server. So you have to find out what was it, the goal of this whole incident, the importance of this incident, how it has actually hampered the whole process, what is its loss, how to recover, and everything. Where does it occur? So where does it occur mean not on the whole system, but the first, from where the point of start or the point of contact of the system to the malware, that is where does it occur. So the malware uses a point of contact to get into the system. So you need to find out that point of contact. That's called the identification detection. After initial assessment, like you find out, okay, so this malware has started from this system and throughout the whole system. Okay, so this is basically brief summary kind of thing. After getting into an incident, that assign a person to handle identification and assessment. Okay, so that is like your how you are going to use your staff or training persons. Okay, check for simple mistakes. Like suppose a simple mistake was that the incident, the malware just get into the system because a firewall of the any particular machine was off. Suppose a particular firewall of a machine was off, not of the whole system, or any particular Windows system was off, and by using that vulnerability for that particular time, the malware gets into the system. This is very much simple mistake, and for that there may be a lot of like problem out there. So there is to check for simple mistakes, assess the incident in full details as possible, and contain that incident, or to write down the incident in detail. Then you get the smart report. In smart report, the specific points, the parameters, the measurable. Measurable means how much loss, how much data you have lost, how much time it is taken to it, and from at what point of time the incident actually happened, for how much duration the incident was there in the system. Not the incident, the virus, I would say, and the or the impact, you would say, the actionable, what you should do, this action, the logic behind your action. Suppose you are saying to format, you say that you have to format it, so you have to give logic, because when you are formatting it, you would lose all data. So that is obviously not very much advisable in this kind of incident. So what action you are proposing, you have to give reason and logic for that, and finally time based on like how much time for this phase, how much time for that phase, and how you are going to complete this whole thing in how much duration. Then others about callback for additional help for team and management. So this is chain of custody. Be careful to maintain the chain of custody after this and that. Don't skip any step. So after if you skip any step and finally just you at the first you said go to the find out the root cause, you will get into the problem. Each piece of evidence must be controlled under one, or that is the chief of your incident response team, and law enforcement requirements. That is what that question was there from some other country. So in that particular case, you should follow the requirements or guidelines we follow. In the identification section of an incident identification, obtain the full backup of the whole system. Suppose the you have identified incident, so that when you are recovering, you should at least get some data from the backup. Kernel or the backup also helps to get investigation processes. So you are not actually following the doing investigating the thing on the original data or system. You are investigating the system, or you are investigating the backup of the system or the clone of that system. Okay, so when you are recovering the original system, you can finally do the post analysis part on the backup. Turn on auditing or increase if it is available. So auditing, I guess you guys know, auditing is basically trying or checking over the vulnerabilities of any particular system and patching the loopholes, ensure that the system clock is set correctly. So that is basically the system clock is set correctly, because when suppose a malware from some other country puts out there, it will send to some other IP. So you might say that the suppose your system clock was before the incident was in India, and after the incident it gets then another time which may be equivalent to America's time. So once the malware has changed the system clock to American time, and so from that you would maybe get some hint that from where the malware is actually sending the data, and document everything. In the containment process, it is that review the previous containment, as I have said, to control the spread of the virus, or spread of the malware, or spread of the impact of this incident. So review the previous phases. Finally, to get the goal that what was this like the virus's particular aim to do, deployment your whole system, your whole stuff, and finally then backup every storage or every server data. In the containment project, after doing initial analysis, take the backup, do the risk operation. Risk operations mean taking the full backup. You may format the whole data. Obviously, that is risky because when you're formatting the whole data, if some data is not already backed up, that data is lost. So there's a risk operation. Consulting with system owners or system administrator. Change passwords because maybe the password has been hacked. So it is advised to change the passwords and block IP addresses which were earlier connected to the those your system before the incident happened. Change domain space or and apply patches or apply or just cover the loopholes. Eradication is removing to determine the cause and symptoms of the incident that is very detailed from which particular thing the incident has happened and what was the symptoms of incident, like maybe the in the 2 weeks ago, the when the malware first came, the machine gets slow, but we have not the employee who was using that machine did not get to know that his machine gets slow, so he was saying that is normal, so that is a symptom of the incident, but he did not notice it. That is, you may call a symptom of the incident. Restoring from the backups you have taken in the containment section, then performing vulnerability analysis or auditing, and then same tools and same exploits on multiple machines. Okay, so you should check the exploit or the way this machine is hampered. You should get the same way this another machine is hampered or not. So you should run the same antivirus engine to each and every machine and find out that if multiple machines is hampered in the same way or not. So recovery is fine, mainly monitoring. Once the system is back online, continue to monitor for backdoors that escape detection. Okay, so on you have obviously patched it, but you should get or still get to know for the backdoors or still if another loophole is left or escape for detection. Utilize the network and host-based IDS that also in intrusion detection system is a software which detects the external intrusion, unauthorized intrusion to a US system and check logs of OS or operating system, network and applications. So after following up, you should finally get out the goal, satisfy an IDS. Okay. Uh, Actually, we have very small time left. Uh, so IDS is an intrusion detection system, and IPS is intrusion prevention system. So what IDS is? IDS is, suppose you have a firewall. Okay, so basically IDS is this.
Aditya, you are almost at the end of the timeline. Okay, please wrap up.
Sorry, 2 minutes. Okay, so IDS is basically intrusion detection system where if any
There is a
particular.
lecture on ideas. Let it be in the
Oh,
next
there's a
lecture.
lecture.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, sir. Okay, sure. So, Mr. Naresh, first one, ideas and IPs should be explained by another panelist. So, I'll just forward to the next slide. So, the following asks you to goal to review the integrate information related to the incident, perform postmortem analysis. Postmortem is the forensic analysis, or you can say that same triage process, reevaluate or modify standards, or suppose the guidelines you have set, but still following that guidelines, there is a loophole and the incident happens. So, you should modify the standards, assess the incident time, resources, used cost estimate how much cost it was lost and how much it will be required to recover and support prosecution activity. So this is the lessons learned. Finally, to secure system, this is the prevention part, fix the processes, and finally the technology which you are using, and to continuously monitor that technology to get the more improved flow of incident handling. So this is a problem reporting diagram that event detected refer to help desk. After first level of review, refer to organization management. After that, refer to review if that particular thing is to be followed to the next level. In the computer, it goes to the. It depends on the incident respondent. He takes a decision. If it is normal, then he resolves that event. Then after that resolving the event, he takes a decision to close. Now, in that case, if that is not normal, then escalates, and after escalating, he generates an escalation report. And after to that, it goes to higher level incident responder. He moves it to he forwards it to the computer incident response team or CERT. After that, CERT gets into the thing and resolves the and if that particular person does not feel it to be forward to computer incident response team, he resolves that event by its own and finally close this incident. So this is incident preparedness, security based practices. You could say confidentiality, integrity, and availability. The protection part. This is incident alert. These are the points in the alert system. Hackers, internet service provider, end user system, and investor stuff. This is how you're gonna alert happens. Okay. This is incident reporting. How you're gonna report. Incident investigation. Activity logs, preliminary intervention check, policy violation, restriction and resources, incident response, and recovery. So this is the whole lesson slide. First, document everything, update incident response processes as you are doing you are following a guidelines. If incident happen, following those guidelines, update it so that this incident should not happen next time. Financial impact analysis, staff requirements, budget requirements, and quality and information security. Requirements of incident response, requirements of incident response, and this is for immediate. Also, the another part, that is the continued part. Analyze the light system with minimal intervention. Importance of volatile data acquisition, volatile data analysis. So these are the references I followed. So thank you. And actually, we have very only 30 minutes time given for it, so I cannot cover the whole part. I'm really sorry for that. I will share this presentation with you, and you may understand by reading this presentation. So I am over for question and answer. You may ask in the chat box. I will answer there only. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya, for an interesting introduction to incident handling procedure. Uh, Thank you very much, Aditya.